All right. Welcome to the first Too Many Guys Shorts track show. I'm joined by Will and Coach G. And this is actually not the first show we've done concerning track and field because, Will, I believe you remember a while ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we did a show and we discussed some things. But I really liked our spirited discussion on whether or not Eliud Kipchoge's sub 2 hour marathon should have been a world record. And this is not the first go around with this, but the World Championship is something we're going to really get into because considering that this is the first time it's been on American soil in, I believe, over 30 years. And you have 3 guys here who are very enthusiastic about the sport. Some of us are really good. Some of us were not. Raise my hand.
I'm a better coach.
I wasn't brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. I was a good second leg on the relay. That was about it. But we're just going to jump right in here. We've had a very exciting meet. I think we saw a lot of really low times. We saw a lot of breakout performances by some newer athletes, and we're starting to see a changing of who the dominant athletes are, especially in the sprints. And we're seeing some things that are starting to shift a little bit. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but seeing the Kenyan dominance in some of the races and the Ethiopian dominance, specifically the men's races, are starting to spread out a little bit. And we'll see how that part of the world reacts, because for 40 years, they've had the best distance runners in the world by really a long shot. So there'll be a lot to talk about. Hopefully we'll do this more often, especially when we get to some things starting next year with Diamond League and everything like that. But let's just jump right in here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to show the results just from the men's and women's races. And we have some excitement to talk about, but also some controversy. I think we should probably start with the controversy, considering this is a new show. And if anyone's listening, everyone likes controversy. So let's go ahead and share right here. All right. So we're seeing over here, we have the 100 meters, which, it's kind of funny. I think I'll just start with the 100 meters. I expected this to mean more than it did. Seeing as a U.S. men's sweep of the 100, that should be exciting. And it just seemed like people were kind of like, all right. So I mean, we can kind of start with that, but just for everybody to get a quick look at the results. I know one thing else that stands out to me is Uganda getting 3 medals, which is they're coming. They're coming. They're really getting some good distance runners out there, and they have some good marathoners as well. Also, there's not a whole lot of Kenyan flags, and we're used to seeing a lot of Kenyan flags for this particular meet. So, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't start about a name that's missing from this list. And so I think we're going to jump in and talk about the most controversial race, which was the 110 men's hurdles and the alleged false start that occurred. So, Will, you had some interesting takes on this. Why don't you jump in and just why don't you fill everybody in on what happened and just how this seems to be something that the whole rules around false starts in general are something that track really seems to be struggling with.
So the idea behind a false start is you are reacting, you're supposed to be jumping the gun. And the idea behind the ruling is there was a study in Finland with 8 regular people doing starts, regular people, and they decided that regular people can start in 0.1 of a second. The study basically said 0.12 was about the average, but regular people can start in 0.1 of a second, and then they won't be jumping the gun. So you're not getting an unfair advantage by guessing when the gun's going off and getting out of the blocks and going. That's the idea behind a false start. So it's not going before the gun, it's going in time that would be considered impossible to do. Now, the big controversy about that is it was set to 0.1 of a second, 0.1 of a second. And in the men's 110 hurdles, Devon Allen, who was, I think, and still is, the world #1 in the 110 hurdles, was the strong favorite to win the final. He got DQ'd, and he got DQ'd with a start reaction time of 0.099. So as close to 0.1 as you can possibly get. And this is, it was especially controversial because, it's 1/1000th of a second was what separated him from false starting and not, which is completely imperceivable. It's not perceivable on the human eye. Most, if you have a stopwatch on your watch, it will only go to hundredths, and so it's completely impossible for it to really be perceived. And if you watch the start, you're not going to see anything because nothing is amiss. And the thing that's really weird about it is Devon Allen is known as a really fast starter. That's part of his race. He is really good at starts. And I think that it really drives home how absolutely ridiculous this is, because he was DQ'd but for 1/1000th of a second. In his semi-final, he started with a reaction time of 0.101. So the difference in his reactions in those two starts is 0.002 of a second,
which is practically immeasurable.
Which is on a human understanding scale is immeasurable.
Right.
You won't see the difference between his two starts. If you watch it 1,000 times, you would not see the difference between his two starts. And so it's just proof that this rule is ridiculous. And it's not the only time at this championship where something like this happened, where a fast starter was DQ'd for jumping the gun. And the science behind reaction time for elite level athletes is in there. Like and the science says it's 0.083 of a second is how fast elite level athletes could absolutely possibly ever go. And so, you're cheating out of 0.02 of a second essentially, and it's affecting results.
Well, that's the kicker though, the affecting results. That's really, I mean, that's one of my things
that I was thinking about when Will was talking about that. How much technology has now changed our sports? Now we talk about soccer and VAR, but look at track. You're saying he jumped after the gun was shot, and by our technology and our computers, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Well, let's rewind maybe about 40 years ago with sight and ears. We never had that. So are you going to now displace all the records in the past because, well, maybe they were kind of false starts? How far can technology kind of just hamper just the pureness of the sport? Here's a situation where you have this complete athlete. And again, we've always, been taught on your mark, cassette, go. Once you hear that gun go off, you take off. He did the exact same thing that he's been trained for X amount of years. He went to UCLA. He knows Oregon's track like you wouldn't believe. He's like a backyard for him, and still he false starts after he shoots a gun. There's got to be some times where technology cannot interfere with just the pureness of the sport. I understand false start before the gun is shot, but this rule, it takes away from now his legacy of his career, takes away from another medal from him. It gives a medal to someone else, and they shouldn't have it because of this what we think is kind of an odd rule.
Yeah, and go ahead, Will.
It's crazy to me. And the thing that was craziest to me is he was like, let me run under protest so that I can protest this race later.
Right.
And the starter said, no. I mean, they're in the final. There are 9 lanes on the track. Only 8 of them are used. And they didn't let this guy who was disqualified by 1/1000th of a second run under protest.
Right.
And that's something that is allowed in the rules. You're allowed to have a runner running under protest. Like, it's completely allowed. And
they did for other races too.
Starters didn't implement that rule is a bit odd to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw that, but every time he went to talk to the judge was like, nope,
right,
I ain't
exactly.
doing it. Nope,
exactly.
nope. Like, he would not want to talk to him, did not want to listen to him, did not want to hear anything or any kind of the evidence that you just said about the point 1.02 and all that stuff. He didn't want to hear about that. So he just dismissed them and just took another 5 minutes.
Well, that's the frustrating part though, is being dismissed. That's the frustrating part, because this happened. I remember when this happened back this was in '96, when we had the Great Atlanta Olympics, and Linford Christie, who was the defending 100-meter champion, false started. He false started at 0.086. So even though it was a little bit quicker than that, but when you watched it,
of course, technically possible.
But I remember distinctly, I was in high school, and I remember watching that race over and over again, going, I don't see the false start. I just don't see it. And he was irate. I mean, just livid. I thought the way Devon Allen handled himself was remarkable. It's very remarkable the way he handled himself. But all the more reason why he should have been able to be heard. Yeah. Stop and listen to him, or listen to his coach, or things like that. But like track has this thing, is almost like when you step onto the rubber, they just lock it down to the point where they can't see humanity anymore. And it's really disappointing sometimes, because you see these runners, like I'm thinking Javier Coulson happened to him during the 400 hurdles, where they just ended his career because they were just like, nope, we're not going to do anything. You're like, this is last race. What are you doing?
And it's sad. It happens at all levels of track as well.
Yeah.
It happens at like high school track is amateur track. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've all coached high school track. Yeah. And I know for a fact that you've had awful experiences with the officials at high school track.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing for but the officials are given these rules that they have to enforce 100% of the time. No guarantee, and it was one of my runners recently. She was disqualified for barging another runner, barging repeatedly. And, I was watching the race with the coach of the girl she was supposedly barging. I was standing next to him. And the official comes up to me afterwards and he's like, your runner's been disqualified. And I said, for what? This is a girl who has just run in a championship meet, a 3K time that gives her best time ever.
Right.
And she doesn't get to count it because she's been disqualified for barging this girl from this other school. And the coach from the other school, and he just said, I didn't see that. My runner didn't tell me that. Like, where did you see that?
Where did you see it?
Right. And most athletes will go up to the coach right after the race. Hey, did you see that this guy or this lady, hit me, pushed me, kicked me? Did you see that? Like, they're going to fight for their defense.
Of course.
And if that athlete did not go to the coach,
judge. Then the athlete comes over and the coach is like, yo, did you get impeded ever? And he's like, I didn't see it.
No,
I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel anything. And at that point, you think that the official is going to say, "Oh well, we're just going to let
if you didn't feel that you were impeded, then you weren't impeded."
Also, this girl won. Like she beat my athlete.
Right.
Like she didn't beat her by too much, but she did beat her.
Mm-hmm.
And at a high school level where no one's complaining, apart from an official.
Yeah.
You think the official's just going to say, "Okay, I made a mistake," but they don't.
They don't.
And that's the thing that really irritates me about this Devon Allen situation is it was a mistake. Let him run in a protest.
Let him run.
Yeah. Let him run. Reviewed,
and then let it be looked at after the meet's over. Let it be looked at.
It was like the javelin. They changed the rules of the javelin after a massive world record where he literally threw it out of the out of the.
Yeah.
And now said, this javelin's too light. We're going to add weight to it.
And now, but they didn't change the world record.
We're gonna race.
They didn't change the world record.
They said, the same world record.
But we're now making it hard. Like now we're making it safer for everyone because now you're not going to hit anyone on the track.
Yeah. You always wonder what happens when human achievement exceeds the parameters that have been set by the powers that be, by those of us who could never actually reach those heights. So that was particularly disturbing. It was, and you saw too. The winning time was 13:03, I think, and so it's a good time. But these guys can break 13 seconds. I mean, they can. And the way this track was moving, you could see that
it was
they were tentative on that race though. They didn't come out with the same fire.
I mean,
I totally understand. Exactly.
I mean, there were two DQs,
two disqualifications. And for a race, there's not a race more technical than the 110 hurdles. That is the most technical race because not only are your steps have to be on, but the height of the hurdle alone and the way you have to raise your hips and keep your head flat and get your feet back on the ground. Yep. It is like I don't often equate men's and women's track are basically the same. I mean, except that one race though, the difference in the height of those hurdles is just massive. It's just
because it's 39 inches.
Yeah, and you see, if you're not 6 feet 6'1", you're having to literally raise your hips at the same time that you're getting your legs over the hurdle and get them back down to keep your pace because you don't want to stay off you don't want to keep your feet off the track too long.
Yep.
And so something that technical, and then you're saying, okay, I'm going to make you focus on this one tiny aspect and make sure you don't mess this up because clearly there's something wrong here. And then you're seeing runners, you got all these DQs that you saw. It took them a little while to finally hit their stride, but and you know, those of us who kind of know track can say, yeah, it takes a while to get your steps right for 10 hurdles that are that high. It's going to take a little while. But that was a shame. That was a shame because they took the fire out of that race. And but I'm glad we kind of started with the Stead of what was otherwise a very, very, very good championship.
Really nice championships.
Yeah. But well, let me ask you this then. Is this U.S. sweep of the men's 100 meters a big deal, or is Jamaica going through a huge transition with their bet? I mean, this is long gone from the Johan Blakes, the Usain Bolts, and Asafa Powell. You know, those guys are kind of done. So are they just waiting for the kids who are now 17? Because we've seen the younger guys; they're already running 9.9 and 9.8. So are we waiting for them to come up, or do we actually have something where a U.S. team can actually get back into these higher medals that have been eluding them for so long? And they still didn't win the relay. I mean, they could have, but they didn't win the relay because the U.S. men's relay team has just been an embarrassment for a very long time. But what do you guys think about that one?
It's typical sports. You have your ebbs and flows, and the United States for a long time has been steady, high pace, where Jamaica's been up and down. We just see some of these no names of the United States kind of come around and put some good numbers. But again, when some of the athletes throughout the world, the quality has dropped, and we're still maintaining. Of course, we're going to look a little better. That's why we're have all the all-time world champion records and goals, the medals this past week. But it's good to see that the actual competition is getting spread out throughout the world. And you kind of alluded to before, not a lot of African flags in the long distance. A lot of these other countries are coming here to America and using the collegiate sports to really boost their own abilities for their own countries. And you see that all the time. Oh, this player, who is it? The pole vaulter. He went to LSU and blah blah blah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So we have all these different stories of Great Britain sprinter who's over in, I don't know, let's say UCLA, but they're all in our collegiate sports and they're all getting better. So it's naturally just going to raise up all the athletes, but where's Jamaica at? There's another generation coming through. So we're maintaining our status quo, but I think it's just Jamaica. They're just filling their gun. Watch out for the bullets because they're going to come, man. They're going to come hard.
It's just pretty crazy going 6 of 6 for the 1 and 2. That's nuts. But I don't want to talk about Noah Lyles yet because that's another story. Because I know that's your boy, Will. But but Will, what do you think about this U.S. dominance of the 1 and 2 for the men?
Well, I think that it was really interesting to watch and see. If we're looking at the times, the only time that I think is special in the 1 is Fred Curley's 9.76. Mm-hmm. That's the only time that would have been really very special in most championships. Mm-hmm. That's the only time that I think would win a medal in, the last few years. Okay. Where we have really, really big name athletes. The men's 100 is not where the action is at, which I am so happy about. I mean, I love the 100. I love the 100 sprinters. I love Usain Bolt, but it's had its time in the sun.
Yeah, agree.
At its time in the sun. It's been the golden child of track and field for so long. Get it off my screen. Show me the women's 100. If I'm going to watch a 100, show me the women's 100.
And I've been saying that. I've been saying that for 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't say that I don't enjoy going back and watching Usain Bolt run. I can't say I don't enjoy going back and watching Michael Johnson run the 100. Right. Can't say I don't enjoy those 9-second races.
Yeah.
But the hype and it shouldn't be always on the 100. And I'm kind of pleased about that. And I don't want to take it away from Fred Curley there. 9.76 is the fastest time in the world this year. He deserves to win the medal. Mm-hmm. He has the fastest 3 times in the world this year, I think. Mm-hmm. That was a really good and solid winning time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to take it away, but I'm kind of glad that the spotlight is shifting.
Yes.
And it's shifting to encompass the whole thing. Because when I was thinking about things that I wanted to talk about in this show, I was like, the 400 hurdles, obviously men's and women's.
Right.
And I was like, women's 800, men's 1500.
Yeah.
Like these are not races you normally hear about. I wanted
No.
to talk about the women's 3K steeplechase.
Right.
Like,
Right.
there that I want to talk about. And like these are not events in track and field that you generally think about as really interesting.
Right.
Goodness me, I want to talk about it.
Well, I want to say this: if you know
like
track,
the average person,
okay, but say the average person. Oh, I love the sprint, but if you know track, 100, 200, it's been there. So many athletes are so close with quality. For me, it's that 800, 400, last 100, and they're going all out. And they're breaking down their form. And they're going all out. And all of a sudden, this guy comes out of nowhere, zoom, it goes right past them because they had an intelligent race. That's what I love about the longer distances, the IQ factor, when to go back. I know you can talk about the 1500, stuff like that. And bigger races like that is such an IQ factor. With the 100 and 200, like we've seen that. Like you said, we've seen the Johnsons. Shit, we go back to Jesse Owens way long time ago. He's been in the spotlight for 100 years. It's time now. Like you said, Will, the view of track and field is not the sprints anymore. It's going to the field events. We talk about shot put. We talk about the men's shot put, throwing some huge distances right now. The women are throwing huge.
He's the
spotlights
GOAT,
are not the hundreds anymore.
Yeah.
It's getting now track and field.
Right.
So it's good to see.
I 100% agree because what I was getting at with that was it's kind of what you were talking about, Will, where this would have been a really big deal 20 years ago, and it's just not a big deal. It's just not a big deal, and I really think it's because other countries that have good sprinters, you didn't see any Caribbean representation where we're used to seeing guys from St. Kitts and Nevis running in these races. St. Kitts and the Grenadines have had athletes. The Bahamas have had athletes, and not just Jamaica. And of course, I think the voice of track, which is Otto Bolton, he was, from Trinidad and Tobago. And but I am going to shift though. I really thought Arian Knighton was going to win this World Championships. He was so dominant, and I'm like, this is an 18-year-old kid who has come out of nowhere. He's still skinny. He looks like he's just barely started shaving. So I was really high on him to win, but 19-3-1 for your boy, Will. Wow. I mean, the power that he showed on the turn was what I was most impressed with. I mean,
ran away with it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like,
I think he was like 9-1 in that last 100.
Right. And to rip his shirt off and everything, I was like, you just made a statement there. You just made a statement. I believe that's the third fastest time all time.
Yeah,
after Johan Blake's 19.2. Yeah, because Blake ran that 19.26. Yeah. And Laos is 24, 25, like 25. So whoa. And the narrative on him has been that he just keeps improving and that he's been getting better and better and better and better.
I can tell you as firsthand experience.
Yeah, gee, if you didn't know, Will used to run against him in high school.
That motherfucker improves like crazy. So as a person who has raced Noah Lyles and lost by a long way, it wasn't even funny how far I lost by. Yeah. And this was in the 400. This was not in the 1 and the 2, which is his stronger events. This was in the 400. I think he was running like a 47 in high school.
Jesus Christ. In high school.
And I was I was putting along there, coming in at 50, 51, and he was just like,
it's still like bad. He's
not bad either. I was coming in 51, 52, 53.
He's done, not even breathing.
I was a mile or 2
miles. You finished when I had 50 meters to go.
God, that's insane.
And
but what awesome athletes! But we still see that even at the professional level, that these number one, first place, and the last place, how far distance they are, just how spectacular these athletes really are, man. It's unbelievable.
I mean, I was really pleased. I want Arian Knighton to blow up the world of track and field. I really want him to, but I was really pleased that Noah Lyles
I was won. Very happy for him.
Happy for him. He has an interest, like he was the poster child for NBC athletics for the Tokyo Olympics, and it didn't go his way. And it didn't go his way, and he was very open about it not going his way. He said, it didn't go my way. I was not mentally right to run this. It took its toll on me.
And it was an odd year. It was an odd season.
It was an odd season. And also, I think that we have to give credit to the NBC commentators, Otto Volkman and Sonia Richards-Ross.
Yeah.
Sonia
like Richards-Ross.
They brought that up. Sonia Richards-Ross. Goodness gracious. And they brought that up when they were talking about it. They were like, this, and I think it's really important that they do that. And there was so much focus on, especially from Noah Lyles in the interviews. I don't know if you watched them. He said, yeah, it was nice that I had everyone here. I had my therapist here. I had my family here. I had my support system here.
Right.
And it's nice that that aspect of world athletics is coming to the forefront of track and field, especially. It's really nice to see this this entirely other side of, because these people have the health, like the physical health down.
Right.
And it's really nice to see this mental health aspect also coming to the forefront.
Yeah.
And that's what was really nice to see for Noah Lyles doing that for me, because I don't really know him. I've raced him twice.
Yeah.
He beat me twice in high school, which was, 6-7 years ago.
Right.
7-8 years ago now. A while ago.
Yeah. But it's great to see someone that you can recall.
You can sort of, know that you were in the same area as them.
Right.
And you might not have been in the same quality level, but you were in the same area of them. And you like to see that. First of all, you like to see him winning, because it's not as bad when you lost to him.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's nice to see that the people that you know and respect are doing good things and are being healthy.
Yeah.
And we've seen that too, all throughout sports, about the mental aspect of being a professional, high level athlete. It's taxing, especially they're working their butts off, and if they're not getting the results, and for whatever reason, it's good that they're open about it. So it's good for the next generation to be even more open about it. And we see that in soccer and other sports, football and stuff like that. So it's good to now see that track, and tennis too, by the way. But it's also good to see that track now is another sport that's gravitated toward that mental health aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep on going. We've kind of hit the sprints and everything. Let's move on to the middle distances. I think, of course, we got to get on this 1500. And I felt a little bad for Jakob Ingebrigtsen, but he won the 5,000, and it's like, you're still having a great season. I think the 5,000. It appears that the times have been a little slow. I don't want to say slow, may not be the right word.
They've been slow. I mean, realistically, they've been championship times.
Yes, exactly. So you haven't seen a whole lot there. So I really don't want to spend too much time on that one. But the 1500 race was it was an amazing race, but to see the Kenyan athletes fade the way they did down the stretch was odd. Number one, and good for the kick of Jake Whiteman. His kick was fantastic, and the way he held off anybody who challenged him for the last 200 and pulled away. He's had a phenomenal year. He's hit personal bests basically all season.
The way that he broke Ingebrigtsen, the way that he broke him was at 150 and then again at 80. He broke him there and there, and it was just in a race that's 1,500 meters long from the end. And it was just fantastic to see that he made the realization at about 350 meters to go,
right,
that it's not as fast as it could be. And then he went up and onto the shoulder with 300 to go. He went past, and he just took the race.
Yeah. And
what you were talking about with the Kenyan athletes, it was interesting to see, because Timothy Chariot had the world lead time.
And these Abelkids are experienced championship runners. They're experienced. These guys know what they're doing. You can stick them on a track and go win, and they go, okay, and they win.
Yeah. So, and that 1,500 was full of upsets. Ingebrigtsen was supposed to win. It was supposed to be a non-starter. He ran a 3:46.46 mile. Like, what are you going to do about that?
Right.
But it was supposed to be a non sequitur, but then Jake Whiteman came in and said, well, screw you. You're not going to do it. I will do it for you.
That's right. And that was the race.
Then the rest of the athletes that are supposed to be really good. Stuart McSwain from Australia, who's supposed to be up there pushing the pace, supposed to be one of the
He got eaten up early.
He comes in late. I mean, part of it is he had COVID twice this year, and he's on the comeback trail. But
My bad. Dude. Sorry about that.
You
Should have
know,
said that.
Abel Kipsang. I mean, but you know, he's obviously recovered enough to race.
That's true.
And
That's
he
true.
ran a
333.
334,
Yeah,
333,
yeah.
whatever it was. Like, he's not ill right now.
Right. That's true. That's
but,
true.
like, Mohamed Katir from Spain.
He had a great race.
But he's not supposed to be third.
No. Oh,
like,
no.
Field,
I had to look him up. I didn't know who he was.
Whiteman isn't supposed to be third. In that field is supposed to have Kenyans. It's supposed to have McSwain. It's supposed to have Ingebrigtsen. And Ingebrigtsen's supposed to win. Ingebrigtsen was supposed to break 328.
Right.
Didn't even come close to it.
No, he didn't.
Like, he didn't look like he could. And that was interesting to sort of contrast with the 5K.
Yeah.
Ingebrigtsen looked bad in the last lap of the 15. Ingebrigtsen learned from that and broke the last lap, broke everyone in the last lap of the 5K. And that 5K was interesting because you said it was slow, and it was slow, and it runs slow because the world record holder at 12:35, Joshua Cheptegei, was in that race. And he came ninth. He came ninth, I believe, in the 5K, and he was trying to double in the 5K.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And, you know, everyone's like, oh, well, you know, maybe it was because he was tired from the 5 and the 10K.
No,
Chelmo,
that's not how these guys roll.
Chelmo, who is his Ugandan teammate, also did the 10K.
Yeah.
And Chelmo also ran really well in the 10K.
Yeah.
Didn't win, but, you know, really well. And he
Chelmo,
comes second.
But he bronzed in the 5K. He
5K.
bronzed in the 5K, yeah.
Came second in the third and 5K.
But Cheptegei running 27:27 doesn't sound like a guy who couldn't figure out how to compete well in this 5K. So it's like, I mean, you don't run 27:27 and your season best. I mean, that's the season best.
I mean, that was the thing because Ingebrigtsen, his weaker event is the 5K, and that's the event he gets a world title in.
Right. But you know, it's
an interesting sport.
It is. It has a little bit. You know, the great Mo Farah, who everyone has to respect. But you know, he never set a world record. And in fact, you looked at his.
He was a championship runner.
I was gonna say, but you know, it's the guy you didn't want to race him in the final. He will not out. He's not going to set any records. But if he's in the final, you're looking over there, you're like, shit, he's over there. And you just get a little more tentative. And he had one of the best kicks you'll ever see from a man not named what's his name? Shit. Gebre Selassie.
Haile Gebrselassie.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that's really interesting to me about how you beat those guys is you just run your race.
Yep.
Which doesn't so that world Joshua Cheptegei didn't run his 5K. He ran a 5K really fast, but he didn't run his 5K. Because if he had run sub 13, and I'm not even talking about down in the 1340s, I'm talking about 1240s.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
1256,
1255.
Yeah.
1255, 1256, 1257. If he'd run that, which he can do.
Absolutely.
No question he can do it.
Yep.
He wins.
Yep. Absolutely.
But he didn't run that.
And I tell my athletes all the time, run your race.
Yeah.
He had a teammate in that final where he could have said to Chelmo, look, we're going to do this. We're going 1-2 and we're running together.
Right.
We're switching off lead laps.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And, you know, those distance coaches can say, do that.
Right.
And then if someone takes it out and does that, those kickers, Ingebrigtsen is not a good 5K runner. His fastest time is slower than 13 minutes. It's 13:01. But like, he's not going to be able to stay.
Right.
He's not going to be able to stay with the elite distance runners.
Right.
Mid-distance people wouldn't be able to stay with the elite distance runners if the distance runners didn't let them.
Yeah. But I think this kind of goes by what I was saying about Jamaica, though. There also seems to be a shift happening in Kenya running right now. And also just that the Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda, Somalia, that area of the world. I mean, come on, man. When I see a guy named Bashir Abdi running for Belgium, come on. We all know where he's from. You know what I mean?
I mean, Safan Hassan for the Netherlands.
Yeah, or Mohamed Katir.
A refugee from that area of the world.
Exactly. There's something that's in the water of that area of the world that seems to produce runners that the world has never seen and will never continue to see, because it's just going to keep happening. And it's amazing to see. But the reason why I bring that up, though, is because as we see that, we still see Ethiopia still takes 1 and 2 in the marathon. And they took 1 and 2. I don't want to say easily, but they took 1 and 2. And so while we are seeing those runners are now running for places like Bahrain, Qatar, Turkey, Belgium, the Netherlands, Sweden. I mean, we're seeing these runners from this part of the world run. United States, we got like 5 of them in the United States. So I think that part of the world is still putting out just absolutely amazing runners, and it's really, really exciting to see. I kind of want to shift gears, so I think we got to get over to the women. We will say, though, if you guys want to talk at all about the race walking,
it's a difficult thing to do. I can't walk a mile in 5.5 minutes, but I don't really want to talk.
I can't either, but I could run one. So I mean, it's just weird. I don't get it. I don't know
how their knees move backwards.
I don't understand how their hips and the hyperextension of their legs does not. Yeah, and they're going really fast, but I just find it really. I guess it's kind of like swimming in a way, because I have a beef with swimming when you see a guy, because every swimmer wins like 14 medals over their careers, because it's like you need to go 100 meters, but you can go 4 different ways to get there. And so I don't think don't compare them to track people, because then it's like, it's not like I can do 100 meters forward. Then I'm gonna run backwards, and then I'm a crab walk, and then I'm gonna do the worm 100 meters and see who's the fast. You know what I mean? It's just.
And they're trying to compare them to the marathon runners. Like, oh my God, the walkers are so much worse for the body. They're pulling hamstrings. Look at all these tapes on the back of their hamstrings.
Why are you doing it?
Look, I mean, I have to respect the athletic and the basically broken, like, they have an unreal ability to tolerate pain.
Absolutely.
And how to flip their legs.
But I don't like.
This is not a lack of respect for what they do. It is not. I just think it's.
But let's shift gears to women's athletics, because there was some really, really.
So 4x1.
Well, yeah. Oh, also, 4x1. Though I want to say this, Canada.
Yeah,
that was a phenomenal race they ran. Phenomenal race. And Andre DeGrasse is an underrated sprinter. He's underrated. He is a stud, an absolute stud.
And if you're talking about Canada, you also got thrown Great Britain in there. It looks like they're slowly coming around, both sides, boys and girls. We're gonna have some of these other countries are slowly coming around right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, I don't think any country loves athletics more than Great Britain does, and so it would be.
Well,
they love it. Yeah, so the resurgence in there is great. It's great. Yeah, it's not all soccer and rugby. I mean, their love of that over there is.
And like that, I have one. A couple, like we've talked about Jake Whiteman from Britain, but I'll talk about one more British runner.
Okay. Well, let me share. Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen just to bring up the women's really quickly. To see the results here. And yes, I know I'm kind of like dumping on the field events. We'll go back and look at field events, but I just wanted to show that they're running right now. I mean, I know you guys all know who I want to talk about, especially, and we can do that whenever. But the difference between that and this is you're still seeing, I mean, U.S. men vastly outperform the U.S. women in this, but I think there's a lot of younger U.S. women that are coming up. You saw them in the relay outside of Jenna Prandini. A lot of them are still in college or very new to the professional scene. But I mean, what do you say about Shelly Ann Fraser-Price? I think we're looking at the best sprinter ever. I think that wholeheartedly. I think she is the best sprinter we have ever seen. The pocket rocket, 5 feet tall, but the way she has maintained her, not just her performances and her times, but her form. I mean, you could put her on a track with like, and it's just a blacked out figure, and you would go, that's Shelly Ann Fraser-Price. Yep. You know, and her starts are just unbelievable. And yes, she has an advantage being 5 feet tall, but God, that start, she is 2 steps ahead after 10 meters, and it is absolutely amazing. But to put up she's run sub 10.7, I believe, more than 20 times. 20 times. She is in her mid-30s. And like, look, Merlinati competed at the world championship level at 39. There's no way to think that Shelly Ann Fraser-Price still couldn't be
not going to do that.
Yeah. But the
like,
fact
she's
that she's
hitting the world's leads right now.
Right now. Right now. She beat Elaine Thompson-Herah, who ran a 10.5 something in the Olympics.
I believe.
Yeah, and beat her in the world championships a year later. It is absolutely amazing. Shericka Jackson is going to be the new face of Jamaican sprinting, I think.
Agreed.
Her final 50 meters of her races are unbelievable. Unbelievable. But
she keeps on going.
Yeah. You got to
she looks like Bolt over the last 50.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you got to dethrone the queen, because if she's already 10 meters ahead of you after the first 20, you got a long way to go. Yeah. Unbelievable. Her longevity. I believe she won. I'm going to click on her real quick.
I think she was 20 when she first ran, so 15 years ago.
Yeah. She won her first.
18 was it?
She won her first championship. She won her first championship, world championship in 2009. She won the Olympic Games in 2008 in Beijing. She won it
14 years ago.
I mean, unbelievable. She was 21, 22.
It's pretty incredible. And also, like, she has improved. Like, you think of the best time of a sprinter's life and you're like 28 prime.
Yep. She
has gotten faster.
Yes.
Since 18, every year, she just increases that speed.
Yep.
I think the only year she didn't get like a new personal best was the year she gave birth to her son.
Right.
And she still competed 6 months after giving birth. Like 6 weeks after giving birth.
Absolutely.
And like she is incredibly good.
Incredibly good. And I mean, I haven't coached track in a little while, but when I was coaching track and I would talk to people about form and everything like that and getting out of the blocks and how to maintain your drive phase and how you finish, I was like, don't go look at Usain Bolt. You're not 6'5". Don't do that. Go look at Shelly Ann Fraser-Price. And he's crap at starts. His starts are terrible. Yeah, I'll tell you. But I used to thought, go look at Shelly Ann Fraser-Price. Just go watch her. That's who you want to run like.
Yeah.
Her from her shoulders to her elbow placement, to the way she pumps her arms, to the way her feet don't even look like they hit the ground, to her level of her head. She keeps her cheeks nice and relaxed.
Yep.
Her sprint form is textbook.
Yep.
It's textbook. And that's why at 35, who'll be 36 this year in December, that's why she's still so dominant. So why she's still so, and she is competing week in and week out with the best sprinters.
With 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds.
Yeah. She goes out her front door and it's like, I got to run against these bitches again. Jeez. And she, it's just, I find it mind boggling that she's been able to be this good for this long. And the Jamaican women, they have won 10 of the last 12 Olympic medals in the 100. 10 of the last 12 Olympic medals they have won in the 100 meters. That is just amazing. And Shelly Ann Fraser-Price has been in every single one of those races.
Let's put it this way. The American face of sprinting right now for like 100 and 200, Abby Steiner.
Right.
23, I believe, 22, 23.
Yeah. She's
coming out of Kentucky, University of Kentucky. So let's talk, I mean, like, you know, the college class this year is incredible. But she said after the race, I was just trying to hang on for dear life in that 200. I just got dropped. And when you think about Abby Steiner saying, like, I got dropped in the end of a race, that's her best part of the race.
Right. That is. Yeah. She's got that Shericka Jackson closing speed. Absolutely.
And, you know, like, that just tells you the level these Jamaican women are on. But I do think that in the next few years, there will be that same shake, that same little shake that's happening for the men. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see who is going to be coming into it. Who's going to be the next challengers to the throne, because the throne is very firmly in the hands of Jamaica right now.
Absolutely. And
I think it will be for the next 4 or 5 years.
I have to agree. I have to agree. Yeah. I mean, look, Sharika Jackson's she's late 20s, she's 28. So yeah, there is time for the American. But Jenna Prandini was supposed to be that person too. And her best year was her last year at Oregon, and she really hasn't been able to elevate. I mean, she was happy to be a part of that relay. I think she's a great sprinter, but it could just be because she's competing against a time period where there's just this country that's just has that. They just have that, and it's like, okay, so you're hoping that Abby Steiner is able to continue to develop. She seems to be extraordinarily coachable. She really seems to watch and listen. I mean, I guarantee during that race that she was running against Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, she's probably watching her as well, going, what am I going to learn after racing this person? Because this is clearly a once in a century type runner that we're seeing here.
Okay, talking once in a century, I think we have to talk about, now that we've talked a little bit about sprinting, is another sprint event where someone set a world record in what I would consider it's a long sprint by almost a second. By nearly a second.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
Sydney McLaughlin, who is 22, set the world record in the 400 hurdle. She took her own world record
again. I was about to say again
from like 2 weeks ago.
She's done it 4 times.
50.68.
She went from her old world record of 51.40, which this is in the 400 hurdles, which I remember being very happy with a 51.52 when I was running a flat 400, to 50.68, which is very, very close to my flat 400 PR.
Yeah,
and she did it.
She's jumping over stuff.
Hurdles.
Yeah,
and
she's actually counting her steps.
Yeah. And the thing that's most incredible about that is she beat the next 3 best racers in the 400 hurdles ever, with the next 3 fastest times after hers in that race, and she left them 50 meters behind.
Yep.
Femke Bol and Dalilah Muhammad were left behind.
Yep. Both running season best.
Seconds.
The next 3, like they have the next best times ever.
Yeah. And Dalilah Muhammad is a former Olympic champion.
Well, she's also the former world
and world record holder. Yeah.
And world record holder.
Yep.
But that's just unreal. And then after the race, she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to switch to the 400."
Yeah.
I've broken this event.
Yeah, and she absolutely. Did.
And so maybe she's going to go down into the 100. You never know.
But she looked very good in the 4x4.
She could.
You know what her split time in the 4x4 was?
It was the second fastest split in history.
47.8 was her split.
Second fastest split.
47.
And she was still taking off. That gap between her and second place was expanding.
It just was growing.
It was so easy for her. It looked like she was like, "Yeah, I'm running." It looked like it was so simple, like you said.
It started at like 15 meters,
everything, and she just
started at 15 meters, ended at like 25.
Yeah. I'm wondering if she she's talking about going for that world record. And look, when you have an East German world record that was set in, I believe, in the 70s,
it was in
by Marisa Koch.
I think it was 78.
78, something like that. Yeah, that's
like late 70s.
Yeah, I believe by Marita Koch. Yeah,
and it was.
It's 47.6. It's 47.6.
I don't know that you've watched that world record.
I've seen it. I have watched it.
It's I don't know if you watch, there are some races from the 70s and the 80s with some Eastern European countries.
Look,
where you think
I'm sorry.
She never have been caught for doping, but
right. She maybe had probably 3% body fat on her during it. You could see it in black and white screen. You could see it. She had
in a blurry black and white screen.
A blurry black and white screen. You could see veins and musculature that look like that. It's unhealthy to look like that
at that time too.
Yeah, especially at that time. And to think that at that time you're going to run a 47.6, a 47.6, and no other athlete has approached that record. G, you and I are the same age. That's the year we were born.
Yeah.
I've been going bald for 15 years. I've been going bald for 15 years. And that record is still there.
And almost every other single track record has been broken numerous times left and right.
Or at least it's been approached.
You
can talk about
come close to
you can
apart from the women's 800.
Yeah.
But
not
for 10 seconds, 20 seconds.
But even let's take probably the greatest middle distance runner, Hisham El Garouche. Let's take his mile time. It has been approached. And when he set that world record, there was a 20-year-old right behind him.
Right next to him.
Right behind him. So
that no one gets talked about.
Yeah. He it's sad what
second
happened in his
mile
career.
ever.
Yeah.
Too bad you came second in that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's sad what happened with him. I forgot his name. That's sad. But his career really didn't he was expected to take off, and he just didn't seem to find the magic again. But so I don't know if I want. I mean, of course, I don't want this record to stand anymore because I think it's just totally false. It's totally under false pretenses. But I want it gone. I would want it.
It's possible though.
I just want it struck. I just want it broken. Struck. I just want it.
And then
I want it broke and struck. Exactly. But I'm hoping though that with the switch to the 400, look, she's already running 48 by herself. Hopefully she will bring some other women with her.
Some dragon.
Exactly. And I mean, so we can get some more times down there. Because I really think they're capable, but I really think that when you have a world record that looks like that all of a sudden that goal of an athlete, you're looking at this going, this is stupid. I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going to be concerned about winning my races. And
y'all know,
I just don't see the push towards that record.
But when you run for a relay team, you're going to give a little extra. So let's see what she does individually in her times, because it always seems like
I don't know.
Every time faster.
I hear you, G, but every time I see her run a relay, she looks like she shuts it down with about 45, 50 meters left. Because she's so far ahead. She's just like, eh.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting that we're talking about relays here, because there was another 4x4 that I love. I love the idea of it, the mixed 4x4.
Yeah.
Femke Bol, the 400 hurdler who came second.
Right.
Femke Bol ran her anchor split for that relay in 48.1.
Wow.
Okay. So this is another 400 hurdler who could easily make that jump and be competing for the world title. But one thing about Sydney McLaughlin's new world record would have been 7th in the flat 4.
Crazy.
Wow. I didn't even think about that.
It would have been 7th in the flat 4.
Could you imagine that you finished 8th, or you were one of the heat people that was out and you lost to the hurdler time? Wow.
But to rethink something.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
She damn near beat my time.
Yeah. She beat mine. Yeah, she beat mine. That is something special. And her stoicism on the track and the way she is afterwards, she's just like, you really feel like when you see her go, she's still not reached the goals that she's ready to reach yet. She's still sitting there going, no. I can do a lot better than this. But when you qualify for the Olympics when you're still in high school, that should really let you know what type of athlete she is. You're talking about the face of the new face of sprinting is definitely going to be in the United States. It's going to be
Sydney McLaughlin.
but the face of track is going to be Sydney McLaughlin. Absolutely. Yeah. And Gee, we talked about her a while or two. I'm going to bring her up even though she wasn't even there. My heart goes out to Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yep.
Really does. It really does. She's run 10.7. She's broken 11 repeatedly. And I don't even think she qualified for the for the 100 for the US team. And I'm hoping that the fact that she's still really young, that she gets a chance to mature a little bit and maybe being out of the spotlight, and maybe everybody's focusing on Abby Steiner. I mean, look, why wouldn't you focus on Abby Steiner in the United States? You know, she's bubbly, she's very humble, she's very kind, she's attractive, and yes, I'll say it, she's a white sprinter. There's not a lot of those.
Not a lot of those,
especially in the United. I mean, we're not talking about Germany here. I mean, we're talking. Look, you saw the Italy women's 4x1 team. They had 2 Black women on there, so you know there's not a lot of white sprinters. So in the United States, yes, Abby Steiner is going to be somebody that's going to be kind of the face, but that might be a good thing for Sha'Carri Richardson.
Even if Richardson go to the Diamond League, just to get the track on and get away from it, get away from the United States,
go run in Europe,
focus on track.
Go run in Asia. Go run in Doha. Doha's got a huge meet. Go run there.
Yep.
I mean, it'd be really
just look at the
interesting
recognition. You'll look at all those accolades.
It's really interesting to see if she does mature, because we talked about the best sprinter of all time, Shelley-Ann Fraser-Pryce. Her early years, she said it herself. She was not a disciplined sprinter.
No, she wasn't.
She said it herself. She said, if there was one thing I would change about it, I would have been more disciplined in my game.
She talked about skipping practice, you know,
staying
just
out,
not staying out, hanging out. Yeah.
And so you know, there's still a lot of good potential for Sha'Carri Richardson. I do hope to see it, because
it's there. Potential's there.
Right. But we also see, you know, I think maybe in women's track more than the men's track, you really see a lot of development in that 25 to 30 age. You see a lot of development. And look, for the distance races, those women don't peak till they're 33. I mean, that's when they really start getting good. I mean, it's when they get in their 30s. So she has time. I mean, I feel like the way their bodies develop, it just seems to work when they get more time on the track and everything like that, where you kind of see men sort of want to kind of get thrust in there a little bit quicker than maybe they should. So I hope she can develop.
I think that everyone's thinking of women sprinting with the age, like the peak of 28.
Yeah,
that's definitely men sprinting peak.
That's men sprinting. Yeah, but I don't think that's women sprinting. I just don't. I mean, look, my wife's older than me, and I still can't even get close to her in a sprint. So, but yeah, so that was great. You know, and also the women. I mean, the women, there was a lot less drama as far as, you know, the 5,000 and 10,000. You saw typical names. You saw Kenya and Ethiopia basically taking all of them. You did have one road runner from Israel who was able to place in the marathon. But since this is an American show and I want to talk about American runners, I still want to talk about Athing Mo, who
I wanted to talk about the 800.
Amazing. I have never seen a more effortless looking runner in my life. She looks like she's on a Sunday jog and runs 155. I don't understand how she does it. It is amazing. She's got to be about 6 feet tall too. I mean, she is
and huge.
Just the legs.
And it's incredible.
She's all legs. But what I keep on going, she needs to run faster. You know, she looks so effortless. It is amazing to see her run. And I don't think we really know how fast she's actually going to be. I really think that she is still trying to figure out where her best race is. We were talking about development of athletes. She's 20. She's 20.
Okay, so
she's the defending Olympic champion. She's the world champion, and she was on the 4x4 team that won the gold medal. And she could have been on this 4x4 team here if maybe she wanted to. It's probably like, because I know she wants to run the 1500. And so running 400 may not be the best thing right now. But I could see her running the 5,000 as well. She's just so effortless. It's amazing. But we'll go ahead.
So Athing Mo's win was really impressive. But it's going to be really interesting to watch this event over the years, because you know who was right behind her? 800ths of a second behind her, 21-year-old Keely Hodgkins from Great Britain. Okay.
Yeah.
And I thought when I was watching the race, 20. I thought that Keely had it. I thought she had it, because Athing does not like to sprint. Like, she can. Yeah. She doesn't like it. She likes to break you into pieces and just destroy the race.
Just start pulling away.
And she has been able to do that for the last few
meters.
Yeah. She's been able to do that for the last few years. And Sonia Richards-Ross was saying that she doesn't want this race to turn into a sprint over the last 100 meters. So it was even more impressive for me that Hodgkins got the inside. I think if you look on the official splits, she has a faster 700 split, but then a thing came back and won.
Right.
Okay. So yes, really, really impressive race, really good competition. It's going to be interesting to watch that development over the years, but there's one thing that stains the women's 8 for me. Actually, there are two things. First of all, it's the world record set by a 400 runner who decided to run an 800 just for fun back in the 80s. Actually, set by a 400 runner who wanted to run an 800 just so she wouldn't get disqualified from the potential to race later on in the season. So she ran 1/800 and set the world record in a suspiciously fast 1:53, which has never been approached in the last 20 odd 30 years.
30 years,
but
yeah.
The thing that does really stain the sport for me for the women's 800 is Caster Semenya from South Africa.
Yeah.
Still not allowed to compete.
Right.
Still not allowed to compete. Sorry, she's allowed to compete if she takes hormone repressant drugs.
Right.
And that really stains the sport for me, because if you test any of the male athletes, they are going to test higher than any other general male athlete in testosterone.
Yeah.
And it stains that sport for me.
Yeah.
It doesn't take anything away from Thing Mose, because that was an incredible race, incredible performance, and she's going to get better because, as you said, she's 20.
Right.
And she has competition, but it still stains that.
Also, but Caster Semenya wasn't running out of these world times either.
She wasn't running out of these world times. She was running like what?
She was running 158, 157. Yeah. She was just running solid times.
Which these two women are also running.
Right. Exactly. Because the whole I really think it's disrespectful to, and I'm not doing this. I'm not including trans women into the same conversation with Caster Semenya.
It's not the same conversation.
It's not the same conversation. And I know that is a different topic, but I know people who are involved in that topic like to include her. And that's disrespectful to Caster Semenya. It's disrespectful to her. It is absolutely.
I mean, it's kind of like saying Usain Bolt isn't allowed to compete in the 100 because he's over 6'4".
Because exactly. He only has to take. He only has to take 41 steps to finish, and everybody else runs 47 to 48 steps. It's not fair. Yeah, that's basically the extent of it, and it is.
But also, we're seeing that in I forgot what country in the Africa Cup right now. That I don't quote me on the country, but there's a captain of a country in Africa that they are not allowing this woman to play anymore because her testosterone levels are a little higher than average. Where she's had all this medication and documentation ever since, actually for years and years and years. And it says, nope, sorry, we can't help you. There has to be some kind of situational base when it comes to these individual athletes. If there's documentation, if it's a natural, how their body just produce it without any kind of supplements,
right? They
should be allowed to. Now, if you're changing through medical reasons, chemicals or surgeries to change whatever, that's a different story. But if this woman, this athlete from South Africa has all these documentations and everything, and even the soccer player from Africa, they should be allowed to play. They should be allowed to run. There should be no red tape whatsoever. So I agree with you, Will. This is a disservice to track and field throughout the world, but especially in South Africa.
But also, they didn't do this to Maria Matola, who actually displayed similar levels of muscular physique, and she was an 800 runner. And she was allowed to compete, and she actually displayed a very similar physique in the same way. So
I mean, they didn't do it with the 800 world record. Jamila, what's her name? Ludvenko, I think it is. The 800 meter world record for the women.
Oh yeah, I'll look it up real quick.
I mean, if you look it up and you look up the athlete who
Vila something. She's from Czech Republic. Yeah.
And if you look her up and you compare her to Caster Semenya, one of them looks a lot stronger than the other. It's not Caster Semenya.
It's not Caster Semenya. Exactly. I mean,
1983 is when the record was held.
I'm just looking at when you're looking at records that have been from certain parts of the world that have been there for that long with the documentation and listen, I'm not saying that athletes that aren't from that part of the world are clean. I'm not saying that.
Oh, definitely not.
But what I am saying,
drugged out of his mind.
Oh, what I am saying though is that these particular incidences are so over the top that they have to be addressed. Yes. If you haven't seen the 979 documentary that ESPN 30 for 30 did about the final at the Seoul Olympics in 88, it is one of the best track documentaries I've ever seen. It's fantastic. And it goes through all 8 of the finalists that were there. And
all of them have drug offenses.
Well, it's funny. It's funny. There's one guy who does not.
Isn't he like the 7th place guy from Brazil?
No, there's another runner. He actually set the world record in the 100. He ran a 993. His name is leaving me. And it's funny that you got to see this. You have to see this scene where the camera is just panning from lane 1 to lane 8 across. Okay. You got Carl Lewis, you got Ben Johnson, you got these incredible Hulk looking guys. And there's one guy who looks like me. He is narrow. He's got, thin arms and everything. And you're
muscular.
and you're just kind of like, well, who's that guy? And he's not prominently featured, but he's featured in this documentary. And he says, all things being considered, I was the best. And he was exactly right. He was exactly right. All things being considered, he actually was the best. He ended up finishing 4th, I think. And I think he finished 4th in like 84, because he was saying like this was going on back in 84 in LA. But he was like, I was always clean. And you could tell when you look at him, like, okay, even if you weren't 100% clean, you weren't on the Mexican supplements like these other guys were. So, but it was a fantastic documentary. And they talk about how prevalent this was back in the 70s and 80s. And as we all know, the drugs are always going to exceed the testing. They are. And I think there's a certain level of hand-wringing when it comes to the sport in general, because the more you pull back the curtain,
the more you reveal really nasty shit.
The more you want to see.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly. It's like everybody likes sausage, but not everybody wants to know how it's made. And
I mean, it was a few years ago with distance running, with the Oregon Track Project.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Alberto Salazar.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to look at an atrocious human being, you look at some of the things he did.
He did. Who was that girl? She was like the best high school runner in the United States.
Oh,
and you know exactly who I'm talking about.
I know exactly who you're talking
and they wrung her through the ringer, and now she's out, and they broke her. And it's a sad story.
I mean, she's
sad story.
She's back to being healthy again.
Yeah, exactly. She's just now like I'm just healthy. But they were.
She says it's an accomplishment for me to be back at health, like being healthy, being alive and healthy is
right
kind of my reward,
right, which is sad.
It's my Olympic final.
Exactly, and that's doing and that's going to ruin Galen Rupp's legacy, who I think is the best American distance runner. But he's like well, now I don't know, I don't know.
Well, now Grant Fisher is coming up to take that title, but Galen Rupp is in consideration. Chris Zielinski is also in consideration, but Galen Rupp took his records. So I mean, there are some really good American distance runners. But it's nice to see that not only is the sport, well, it's nice to see that the Oregon Track Project got broken up, but it's nice to see that there are also athletes that are doing things in distance running healthily and documenting how they're doing it healthily. The Ingebrigtsen, like Jakob Ingebrigtsen and his family has a reality TV show about how they train. I mean, I know that's something cool for me because I'm like running TV.
You can nerd out to it.
Yeah,
you can nerd out to it.
It's nice to see that some of the things that were acceptable in the past are being beaten out of the sport.
Right. Absolutely.
Really nice, especially for a casual runner like me. Like, I was good. I'm not great. And I would never be able to be great because I don't have their dedication, drive, motivation, and ability.
Yeah.
Mostly the first 3.
Yeah.
But
I didn't have the genetics or the feet.
Like, it's just nice to see, because when I was training, I just went out and ran. I didn't do anything special. I went out, I ran 6 days a week. I did 2 to 3 workouts a week. And I got to the level I was at. And it's nice to see how these guys are showing you what they do as well as that. And it's not something insanely unhealthy that like, well, you do a really big breakfast and then I have a snack at 10 p.m.
Right.
Instead of, oh, I have 7 different types of supplements and testosterone injected into my eyeballs.
I got a tackle box of pills I'm taking every day. So. All right, well, let's start. I guess we can kind of start wrapping up a little bit, but I just want to give everybody a chance to really discuss something that also maybe something we didn't discuss. If there's something that you really wanted to bring up and you wanted to say, G, I kind of want to start with you. Is there anything also from this series that you want to bring up that we can chat about?
Well, I'm a big fan of just the final medal counts. And when I'm looking at it, I'm seeing Ethiopia up there, and you really don't see Ethiopia top 3, top 4. Normally see us and Great Britain, China, and Germany. It's good to see some of these other countries are kind of coming around in track and field. So like Ethiopia, Jamaica is in 3rd, Kenya's in 4th. Like these countries we don't really think of them as powerhouses throughout track and field, but they
have their specific events.
Yeah, but now they're spreading themselves out. So that's always good to see that these other countries are kind of leading the way. But the United States is just 33, first place, second place, Ethiopia with 10. So right there, our system here in America is proving throughout these decades, not over years, but decades, that we have a pretty solid program right here, that we have longevity. But it's always good to see that some of these smaller countries are now becoming world powers throughout track and field, not their special kind of races. The 4x1 for the women yesterday, a couple days ago, was freaking phenomenal. I thought Jamaica would have had the United States, but another 20 feet they would. But it's awesome to see those kind of
10
competitions.
10 yards,
like, it was like a nose here. It's just cool to like. That's what I love about track is when it comes down to it, and you see that. And I don't know about you guys, but like in Florida, they just go whoop. Whoa, like when you're about to get hunted down and stuff like that. And I love it. I love that person in second place and they're giving 100%. And they like, you see them coming down and they're going after that first place. That intrinsic motivation to get that. I absolutely love track to see that she almost got that. But it's good to see that the 4x1, the women, we're going to be with Jamaica for next decades when it comes to first and second place.
Great. It's great.
It's good to see. Yeah, it's just great to see. Just the more countries are getting better, or higher medals. The athletics is being spread throughout the track and field. How it's not just one country dominating. So for me, it's just seeing now this is a world sport. It's not just American sport anymore.
Yeah. I have a couple points. First, congratulations to Alison dos Santos, the 22-year-old from Brazil who won the 400 hurdles for the men.
Absolutely.
I think in the 3rd fastest time ever as well. Really good to see him coming up in there. Only Brazilian medal. Also, congratulations to Toby Amusan, who set a world record in the semifinals of the 100-meter hurdles for the women, and then set another world record that's not going to be counted because it was not win legal in the finals to win Nigeria's only medal in the championship. But also to Nora Geruto from Kazakhstan, winning Kazakhstan their very first world championship gold medal right after the women's Wimbledon title.
That's right.
But congratulations, Nora Geruto. And also, I'm really pleased because I saw a lot of hate on Nora Geruto for running a 9:01 in her 3K steeplechase semifinal, or I think it was semifinal. She ran a 9:01, which is considered to be one of completely an untouchable time. It's a time that normally wins, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's so stupid to do it in a semifinal. Like, why would you do that in a semifinal? Blah 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 blah. You're just ruining the race for those people who." Because she was in the same race as Emma Coburn, and everyone was like, "You're just ruining the race for her." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, fine. Screw you."
Tell them to run faster.
And then in the finals,
we've all seen her do it. Emma can do it.
Yeah, and then in the final, Nora Geruto runs an 8:53, setting a championship record. And I was like, you see, so she might have ran a 9:01 in the semifinals, but she ran 8 seconds faster in the final. So you can shut up.
Absolutely.
And congratulations. I mean, it's just, it's such a great atmosphere at the events. It was really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I was engaged. You didn't, and it's nice thing about track is you don't have to watch it live. You can be engaged and watch it back later.
Absolutely.
Because the longest race that you're realistically going to watch could be the entirety of the 5K. And that takes less than 15 minutes for both men and women.
Right.
Like, that's nice.
But
that's the nice thing about track. You don't need to have a long time to sit down and watch a game of soccer. You don't need to have a long, like 4 hours to go and sit down and watch the American football. No, you can watch a 10-second race and you can just be amazed.
Absolutely. What I love about track so much is that you see feats of athleticism that are just absolutely remarkable. And I don't think you get that in other sports to the extent that you do in track and field. There's also an Ethiopian runner. Her name is Gudaf Segai. And the Ethiopian women have overtaken the men when it comes to who are bringing in the most for them. They won 7 medals in this World Championships. And she won the 5,000 meters and placed second in the 1,500 meters. And you're looking at now I always forget what I need to know, but there was a group of sisters who are from Ethiopia, and they were Dibaba. Thank you. There were 3 of them. There were 2 sisters, and one was like an aunt. And they Tiranesh and I gotta look this up now. This is gonna bother me.
I know exactly the family you're talking about.
Genzabe.
Yeah.
Yes. So with them, they were phenomenal, fantastic.
Done their time.
To watch Genzabe run the 1,500. I mean, I never looked like I saw someone who was running a 200 had the same form for 1,500 meters. I mean, her power, her form was just unbelievable to see. They're also having this new wave of runners coming up that are going to be really ones to pay attention to, because I think while I'm seeing the Kenya-Ethiopia rivalry in the men's track not be quite as powerful as it was, because we're seeing runners from other parts of the world. Some of them are immigrants from Ethiopia and Kenya, but they're kind of coming in and they're competing as well. You're still seeing that same rivalry and dominance from Kenya and Ethiopian women. And I really enjoy that there's this small part of the world that's about, maybe a few thousand square miles of radius. That's just that no one can run with. You just can't run with these people. And it is absolutely phenomenal. The fact that you have people from the most developed parts of the world saying, I need to get better, I'm going to go there, is really, really remarkable. And I really enjoy seeing that. And as you guys know, I tend to look towards what are the parts that don't have the resources that are doing fantastic things. I really enjoy seeing those types of things. And so that's really exciting. I'm also just happy to see that this got the coverage that it got in the United States. The last few World Championships I've been able to watch, I was streaming them online, and I would turn it on to try to see, because I couldn't find a schedule. I'd find a schedule, and it would be a feed from a camera that's on the track, and you would watch the hurdles being set up, and you'd see like the backs of somebody's feet or something like that. And so you really had a difficult time kind of following along, and then you'd get that 1 hour or 2 hour show that took place on NBC on Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. or 3 to 4 or 5 to 6 or something like that. And that was it. And that always bothered me, because I like watching the heats. I like watching the strategy involved. I like seeing who's going to pull up in the 400 at a specific time. Who's going to be happy with getting third because they don't want to burn themselves out, even though they know that's going to put them in lane 7 or lane 8. I like seeing all that, and I was able to see that this time. I really appreciate how NBC had put as much as they could out on the various platforms, and they kept their YouTube channel flooded with all the races. You could watch the races 2 hours later; they were on YouTube. You could watch them all right there too.
I could have put the full races on there, but for some of the distance events. I mean, as a distance runner, that just
it bothers me. It bothers me
a little bit.
And I was not a distance runner. I mean, that I do a distance running now, but then I was not. And when I actually was a low-level competitor in Eastern North Carolina, but the fact that it's getting discussed and talked about,
but I mean, the fact that I can see the race
and I can
nice.
see it. Yes, I can see the race, and it's not, and it doesn't have to be the Olympics for me to see it.
Yep.
It doesn't. And I like the fact, though, the Olympics are important, but for so many people, all they think about when it comes to track is how successful you were at the one week every 4 years that you pay attention to the sport. And by them showing
this Diamond League.
Yeah,
I like this Diamond League.
I love Diamond League.
It's gonna bring someone up to this track field.
Yes, I love Diamond League, and I'm glad it's on. They show Diamond League every week, and I like the fact that they're showing the Penn relays are on, Prefontaine Classics on, Drake relays are on. You're getting more and more of it on. You're getting to watch the sport, and all sports that we know and compete in and have played as children are all based on track and field. Every single one of them, and so it's great to see. And I had I'll end on this note. I had a student, and his dad came out to track practice one day, and he just said, all I got to say is this is the best sport in the world because it's the only sport where there's something for everyone. You know, you're a big burly guy, you can go throw. If you're a skinny little kid, you can go run distance. You know, there's something for everyone in this sport. And I agree with that 100%. But guys, this was fantastic. This has been a really fun show. And let's pay attention to the calendar. I know the season's wrapping up, but I think when the indoor season starts, we can maybe kick another show in. And then also, you know, we're getting an off year for the Olympics and the World Championships, because I don't think there's going to be World Championships next year. And we'll get a lot of Diamond League we can discuss. And actually, I think we're going to see.
Isn't there one in Budapest next year?
Is there? Okay, I wasn't sure if there's going to be a 2023 World Championships, but I really want to see the younger runners that we saw on display here, especially some of the ones that were in the heats that may not have qualified for the final. But I think we're going to see a new breed of athlete coming in, which is going to be very exciting, because a lot of these times they're throwing down. These are some younger runners. So this will be fun.
There's one in Budapest. There's already a countdown on worldathletics.org. August 19th to 27th in 2023.
All right, cool. I'm also going to plug a YouTube channel, even though those guys have no idea I'm doing it. But if you haven't seen Total Running Productions on YouTube, it's phenomenal. I have stayed up way too late on so many nights watching his little 5 to 10 minute shorts on YouTube. They're great. They're great. So hopefully someone says, "Hey, I heard your name on this. You should go check this out and give us a watch." So, but this has been the Too Many Guys Shorts track show based on the 2022 World Championships in Eugene, Oregon. And for Will and Coach G, I'm Stead, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.